Well, Kevin, let me first of all say how delighted I am personally to be back here, having been part of World Superbikes since the early 90s. Not actually back in '88, but it really is our homecoming in many ways. And I'm sure after what's gone on in the last few years, you're delighted to have world-class racing back.
Absolutely delighted, yeah. I can't say that I didn't have some nagging doubts that we'd be back, but we've had a long, hard winter of work, but we're here, we're open. We're doing the last few snags today, but I'm hoping it's going to be a trouble-free weekend. If this weather stays with us, it's just going to be fantastic.
Most people in motorsport are fairly aware of the story of Darlington in the last few years, but if you can just kind of praise it, because I know your father basically put this place together, you're now running it, but in between there was a Formula One idea that just didn't happen.
Yeah, well, my father used to visit here pre-war as Britain's oldest road circuit, and we used to drive here at weekends as a kid. He used to show me around, and he ended up buying it in the early 70s, initially as a home for his Grand Prix car collection. And then in 77, he opened it to the public for motorsport. And really, it's just moved on from there. I mean, as you know, World Superbike in 88. We had the European Grand Prix in 93. We've had MotoGP. We've had a number of events that have all been very successful. But we never were circuit operators. We always had somebody in to run it on a licence, and it was decided that we would lease it because of the amount of investment required. So we eventually sold it to Darlington Park Ventures on a 150-year lease through Simon Gillette. And he had huge plans to go the Formula One route, but just unfortunately couldn't raise the necessary capital to do so. And I guess rather than admit defeat, took it into the ground with him. And we got the keys back on Christmas Eve '09, and it's been a tremendous struggle since then to get rid of the administrators, clean the place up, and then really decide what we're going to do. My first thoughts naturally was to lease it out again, but it just became more and more obvious to me as my father at that time had passed away through a long illness. Had a great passion for the place, which obviously part of that's in me. I just listened to what the fans had to say, and there were thousands and thousands of letters asking that it should stay in the Wheatcroft family, don't let it be developed, keep it as a racetrack. So one morning I just woke up with a clear head and thought, right, that's what we'll do. No more interviews, we're keeping it. So, that was 12 months ago. Here we are, we're open. There's still a long way to go. There's a lot of work now enhancing the visitor expectations, but first was to get the circuit open, which we did. Then we were to get all the safety boxes ticked, which we have. So we're here, and I'm hoping this today is the start of a new generation.
And I think it's not only a sigh of relief for you and your family, which is obviously a personal thing. I think also for the community here. We're in the heart of countryside of Derbyshire and Leicestershire. And, we come and we see World Superbikes and we see MotoGP. Those are 2 weekends a year. Of course, you've got other races planned, but I'm thinking about the hotels, the places that, that the caterers, the restaurants, everybody involved in working in it. There was a period then where literally this place was stagnant.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a huge industry, and what this one event brings to the area for one weekend it's a colossal amount of money. So we were not the only ones that suffered. I mean, a lot of businesses went to the wall in the Gillette collapse. A lot of people started building and extending hotels in readiness for Formula One. That all got aborted. So I think they're genuinely all pleased to see us back and operational, because it's a chance they can earn again. I want it to be a success as much for me as for everybody else.
Well, you got World Superbikes back, and I think that is a very important footnote, given that we started here, as you say, in '88. What are your plans? What are your hopes for the future?
I just want to, let's get this tucked away, and hopefully it's a successful weekend, which I'm sure it will be. I think we want to work on and enhance next year's calendar. I mean, there's nothing I won't look at, providing, first of all, it can be made into a proper business venture, that it will make money for the circuit, because I have to put emotions to one side. This has to be a business. It has to make money. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to operate it. So it's all got to make business sense.
As I told you, I'm involved in a project on the forming of a new circuit in Austin, Texas, of all places, who aren't very familiar with Formula One at all, but they've managed to get a 10-year lease to do Formula One. Just in talking about, although it's not necessarily your business, just as somebody who is running a circuit, give us some idea of A, that kind of task, full stop, and B, just being involved in a subject like Formula One is never an easy endeavour, especially as we've noticed here at both Silverstone and Donington in the last few years.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, one thing in America, if they do something like that, they usually do it very well. What I'm unsure about is the willingness of the general American public to view Formula One. I hope, for Formula One's sake, it's busting at the gate, and I hope for the guys in Austin, Texas, that have invested the money, it's busting at the gate. But it's a particularly tricky thing to get right, and logically, it's the gate money that brings you your income. But there's so many other things need to be looked at now. The face of motorsport has changed. It is now a very involved business, and we're having to evolve with that and find other ways of making money other than the gate.
And I think one problem they might have, which you don't have, is fans, in terms of it is still a growing audience for Formula One, although they are aware of it. Obviously, NASCAR is king, Indy's very big in single-seaters. So compared perhaps to your motorcycle and your four-wheel interest here in the Great Britain, they've got to build that from scratch almost, and it's another part of their marketing stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I was alluding to, really. I mean, it's a different audience, and first of all, they've got to, educate that audience to F1, and unless they can get that sort of following, I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, you can probably get away with 2 years not injecting more money in, but sooner or later, if it's not earning, someone's got to find cash from other ways. It's a problem I'm glad I haven't got, in a way. At least we know our fan base in this country. It's a whole new thing, and they're brave to take it on. But I hope for everybody involved it's a success.
Listen, back to here, sunny day. I don't know if you could have ordered that, but I'm sure there's a wry smile this morning when you got up and saw that day one of World Superbikes was at least brought in beautiful spring sunshine.
It's incredible. I mean, everyone's peeling tops off, and it's fantastic. I hope it holds for the weekend, which I think it will. I think it's going to be slightly cooler on Sunday. But no, if this stays, it's going to be great.